A Mortal's Journey to Immortality episode 336. In the previous episode, Han Li eliminated the traitor who once carried the snow crystal pearl, only to discover the youth had taken his own life before he could be questioned. With no time to dwell on the loss, Han Li collected the lingering demonic aura using his second nascent soul, then urged Feng Yu to lead him toward the mysterious secret cave tied to the Feng clan. Meanwhile, far across the Endless Sky Plains, the soaring tribes misread everything, believing Han Li to be a powerful elder of the Yin-sifting sect seeking vengeance for the Molan. They gathered their strongest forces. Over 100 high-grade immortals assembled for a massive summoning rite, personally overseen by the Endless Sky Saintess. Their goal: call forth a sacred beast's incarnation and trap Han Li forever in the Endless Sky Plains. At the end of the previous episode, the Saintess began the sacrifice, raising two rare peak-grade beasts toward an ancient altar, while a cauldron astonishingly similar to Han Li's Heavenvoid cauldron ignited above them. What will happen next? Stay tuned. And the story continues. The Endless Sky Saintess gradually sped up her incantations and extended her finger at the cauldron, ordering its lid to launch into the air in a streak of azure light. Then, sparkling grains of sand flew out from the cauldron and enveloped the altar, entrancing all the spectators present. The air shimmered with a strange energy as the sand floated in a mesmerizing pattern, reflecting countless colors in the sunlight. Every eye around the altar was fixed on the scene, unable to look away, as if some invisible force had rooted them in place. The Saintess paused for a moment, observing the chained azure wind bison on the altar. With a subtle gesture, she signaled the silver chains to tighten. In an instant, the chains constricted violently, cutting through the beast's flesh as if forged from 1,000 invisible blades. The sound of tearing flesh echoed faintly through the air, and crimson blood sprayed across the altar, filling the space with a sharp metallic scent. Within moments, the massive bison was reduced to over 100 pieces, its form scattered but still horrifyingly alive in the pulse of the ritual. As the onlookers struggled to comprehend the scene, the azure sand began to pour over the scattered remains. The grains moved with a will of their own, flowing over the pieces and consuming them in a soft, glowing light. Slowly, the bison's body began to pulse, each fragment of its flesh and bone merging with the sand until it disappeared entirely. Then, a small ball of green light shot from the center of the remains. The primal soul the beast had cultivated over countless years. But before it could rise freely, beams of azure energy shot from the altar, striking the soul and forcing it back into the sand, consumed once again. Minutes passed as the ritual continued. The bison's corpse had completely vanished, each grain of sand now infused with a trace of its blood. The Saintess remained composed, her gaze never wavering. She then turned her attention to a massive white python coiled atop the altar. The chains around the serpent tightened in silence, lifting it to the center of the ritual. The sacrifice repeated, just as brutal, as the python's body was devoured by the same azure sand. The transformation was mesmerizing yet horrifying. The air thickened with a cloud of blood and the scent of both beasts, signaling the ritual's success. With the consumption of the Grade 7 demon beasts complete, the Saintess raised her hands and summoned the power of the cauldron. It trembled and lifted from the altar, hovering as if it were alive. She turned to the two late nascent soul cultivators standing behind her and said, "I am going to start summoning the holy beast. Please lend me your power." Both of them nodded calmly, their expressions serene yet resolute, prepared to pour their strength into the ritual. The Saintess began to strike the surrounding spell formation with intricate seals, each movement precise, causing the pattern beneath the altar to glow with increasing brilliance. The cauldron pulsed in perfect synchronization with the formation, the azure flame flickering and growing stronger in response. She stepped forward, raising her head and uttering a cryptic incantation, while the two grand immortals placed their hands on her shoulders, channeling immense spiritual energy into her body. A silver light enveloped the Saintess, and a flood dragon with an ox head appeared in intricate patterns on her forehead. She pressed her hands together and released twin beams of pure spiritual power towards the cauldron. The cauldron absorbed the energy continuously, and a fine mist of azure light began to form above it, condensing into a glowing sphere the size of a human head. As time passed, the sphere grew brighter, almost blinding in its intensity, releasing a shrill sound that resonated in the bones of all present. The Saintess's face grew stern, and she adjusted her focus, controlling the beams of spiritual energy from her hands to stabilize the cauldron. Beams of colored light from the spell formation struck the sphere, making it shimmer with countless hues. Suddenly, the ball shrank violently before rupturing into a miniature blazing sun of azure energy. The light faded, leaving a small, egg-sized azure hole floating in midair, which quickly vanished. A streak of scarlet light shot from the void and slammed into the blood cloud above the altar. The grains of sand were drawn together by the light, forming a massive crimson cocoon that writhed like a living creature. The soaring tribe immortals watching were stunned into silence, unable to comprehend the scale of what they were witnessing. The Saintess flicked her fingers at the cauldron, and countless azure threads shot out, binding the crimson cocoon and drawing it into the cauldron. With a loud clang, the lid slammed down, sealing the ritual inside. Azure flames erupted 10 meters high around the cauldron, submerging it completely as spiritual energy from the spell formation poured into the fire, sustaining the mystical process. The Saintess exhaled in relief, knowing that the ritual had been completed successfully. She turned to the two grand immortals and spoke. "The ritual is complete, but we will need to wait a month to witness the incarnation of the Holy Beast. Even if it cannot remain long in our mortal realm, it will last at least a week, enough to locate the foreign cultivator. Once the sculpted body is fully formed, the two of you and I will lead the hunt. For now, rest and prepare." The other immortals departed silently, though a few stole one last glance at the cauldron, curiosity mingling with awe. After the ritual, the Saintess entrusted the two grand immortals to guard the cauldron for 2 days. During this time, a low rumble echoed from the cauldron, startling the three cultivators and prompting them to sit cross-legged around it, ready to respond to any unexpected event. 2 days later, the bell of the Endless Sky Temples rang repeatedly, startling the remaining low-grade cultivators. Streaks of light tore across the sky, revealing that the Grand Immortals and Saintess had begun pursuing the foreign cultivator. Though none could see who was traveling inside, the speed and magnitude of the streaks made it clear that these were no ordinary cultivators. 3 days into the pursuit, an azure streak passed the southern end of the heavenly water river, revealing itself to be the crimson flood dragon with an ox head. Its body, only a dozen meters long, glowed faintly with azure energy, obscuring its true form. The Endless Sky Saintess floated above its head, scanning the water's surface for any trace of the target. 2 grand immortals joined her, asking if the holy beast had located the foreign cultivator. The Saintess confirmed it had, explaining that the cultivator carried many gold devouring beetles, making concealment impossible. She noted his cunning, having evaded them repeatedly through subtle evasion techniques. "We must move ahead and block his path," she said, her voice firm. "Otherwise, he will escape again, and it will be nearly impossible to track him." The 2 grand immortals nodded, and together they moved at immense speed, leaving the remaining cultivators behind. For an entire day, the pursuit continued. Han Li, relying on the blood shadow evasion technique, attempted to put a vast distance between himself and the pursuers, temporarily vanishing from their senses. Yet, no matter how far he fled, the Holy Beast's incarnation and the Saintess's team tracked him relentlessly, forced to unseal his cultivation 3 times to evade capture. Han Li's heart grew sullen as he realized the formidable challenge of truly escaping them. The chase continued for an entire day, although Han Li would use the blood shadow evasion technique to separate from them by a huge distance. They would soon track him down and give chase once more. Han Li was forced to unseal his cultivation 3 times, and now that he was still unable to shake them off, his heart grew sullen. "Senior, I've already shaken off these soaring tribes' cultivators 3 times and left a large distance between them each time. But they were always soon to catch my trail. Could it be there is some spiritual sense strengthening technique that is beyond the great development technique? How can they catch sight of me so far away?" Han Li asked, his complexion deathly pale from strain. His body streaked through the air in an azure light, already pushed to the limits by the repeated use of the blood shadow evasion technique. 3 times he had forced his body to vanish from the pursuers. Yet each time they inevitably tracked him again. His muscles burned, his bones ached, and a cold sweat covered his forehead. He had already lifted the soul lock seal, and every maneuver had brought him perilously close to collapse. Only the combination of several high-grade secret techniques to suppress the backlash of his baleful chi, together with the use of a dozen drops of myriad spirit milk to replenish the blood essence required by the blood shadow evasion technique, allowed him to continue. Even so, the strain had cost him 3 years of cultivation. Without the medicinal pills he had taken, he might have lost an entire level of nascent soul cultivation, falling from one peak to another in sheer exhaustion. Despite the pressure, Han Li's mind remained sharp. He could sense the pursuers closing in, and the realization struck him that conventional methods would not allow him to simply evade this threat. He could not rely on the blood shadow evasion technique recklessly, lest all his efforts be wasted on a chase that would inevitably end with the enemy catching him. Monarch Soul Divergence, his spirit companion, spoke coldly, his voice calm but firm. Although I am confident in my great development arts, I do not claim them to be the absolute pinnacle of spiritual sense techniques. There exist a few whose aptitude surpasses mine, though they are rare, but your pursuers are not relying on such techniques to track you. They are using inhuman means. Han Li's eyes widened with sudden comprehension. Inhuman means? You mean that demon beast? Exactly, Monarch Soul Divergence confirmed. Did you not sense a presence behind you? A beast following closely? Its appearance matches the description the soaring tribe mortals gave of their patron god, the Endless Sky Beast. It seems the cultivators from the Endless Sky temples have summoned this beast to recover their pride after their nascent soul immortals were killed by you. A being not from this world would naturally possess tracking capabilities far beyond human comprehension. Han Li frowned, skepticism etched on his features. The Endless Sky Beast? I am aware of it, yet from what I know, it possesses magical power only around the level of a grade 7 demon beast. Far inferior to the Molin's sacred bird. How can it track me with such precision? Monarch Soul Divergence let out a low chuckle. You are thinking in mortal terms. The Molin's sacred bird projection you spoke of was an illusion aided by a treasure. Emerging from nowhere, what follows you is a genuine entity. Its incarnation in our world likely employs a method similar to possession through a medium, akin to the Elder Devil's technique, using other beasts as conduits. Do not underestimate it. With time, it can grow into a formidable force. Similar incarnations exist, though they are rarely seen by ordinary cultivators. Han Li's mind raced. Are such beings really present in our mortal world? I have no time to dwell on their origin. Whether demon beast or holy beast, we must find a way to evade it. Otherwise, the lifted seal will endanger everything. He scanned the distance, noting 3 cultivators and the demon beast trailing him, growing more apprehensive by the second. Monarch Soul Divergence considered and then said, there are countless strange beasts in the upper realms, and who can say what abilities it is using? Your chi suppression is commendable, but in truth, there is no foolproof method to evade it other than slaying the beast. There is, however, a simpler method I can teach, a feigning death technique capable of extinguishing all signs of life from your body. Its effectiveness depends on whether the beast tracks you by your aura. Han Li's gaze hardened, a cold glint of determination flashing in his eyes. Then I will kill it. Be cautious, Monarch Soul Divergence warned. You may not get the opportunity. That beast is accompanied by 2 grand immortals and a mid-Nascent soul stage woman in a mask. Likely the Endless Sky Saintess. Her powers are not to be underestimated. Han Li's tone remained icy, unwavering. If I do not take this risk, there will be no opportunity. I will have to treat my second nascent soul as a disposable resource to succeed. Silvermoon, his artifact spirit, spoke softly. Master, if you plan to do that, I also wish to help. Han Li glanced at her. How are your injuries? Can you continue to draw attention as an artifact spirit? A smile spread across Silvermoon's form. I am the artifact spirit of your magic treasure. No matter my injuries, so long as your flying swords remain intact, I cannot die. At most, I may rest in slumber for a few years. But you need not worry. Han Li nodded with a sigh. Very well. Our situation is dire. I will rely on you. Under Monarch Soul Divergence's guidance, Han Li learned the incantation for feigning death. Once memorized, he placed his hand on his head, summoning his second nascent soul. In a flash of black light, it appeared, spitting forth the yin sifting banner and shaking it violently. Within moments, dark clouds gathered, swirling into a storm that stretched for a full kilometer, blotting out sunlight and filling the air with devilish energy. Han Li retrieved a small crimson sword, the Blood Devil Sword, and tossed it into the black clouds. Take this. If the Endless Sky Saintess and her beast follow, strike it down, he ordered. The sword shrieked through the air, moving with terrifying momentum. After ensuring his preparations, Han Li poured a drop of myriad-year spirit milk into his mouth. Replenishing his body's essence, his aura flared with bright spiritual light, and he streaked through the sky in an azure blur, faster than most could perceive. Observing from a distance, the purple-haired woman yelped in astonishment. What is happening? The foreign cultivator's nascent soul is moving independently? The elegant man shook his head gravely. Ordinary nascent souls cannot act autonomously. He may be using a doppelganger technique. Or perhaps this is a legendary second nascent soul. Either way, we must act carefully. The Saintess frowned, realizing the severity of the situation. The Holy Beast's abilities were limited, unable to fully perceive spiritual traces due to its low cultivation. A plan was formed. The elegant man would pursue the nascent soul, while the Saintess and the purple-haired woman continued the pursuit of Han Li himself with the Holy Beast. Do not kill the nascent soul yet. Our priority is extracting the method to breed Gold Devouring Beetles from it, instructed the purple-haired woman. The plan set, the elegant man departed, disappearing in a 30-meter-long green streak, leaving the Saintess and her companion to chase Han Li. Over 50 kilometers, the chase continued, steadily closing the distance. Han Li prepared for the next stage. Silvermoon, it is time for you to leave, he murmured. From his sleeve, a small silver wolf emerged, taking the shape of Han Li himself. Handing over a storage pouch and a thumb-sized azure pearl, he instructed her, take the Gold Devouring Beetles and Lightning Pearl. If the demon beast follows, disable it by any means necessary. That is your task. Silvermoon nodded resolutely. Master, be at ease. If the Endless Sky Beast follows me, I will not allow it to easily escape. In Han Li's image, Silvermoon took the two treasures and tore through the sky in a silver streak. Han Li looked at Silvermoon's transformed appearance as she departed, sighing in amazement at her impressive illusion. In all manners of appearance and aura, she appeared exactly the same as him. Every movement, every subtle flicker of energy, mirrored him perfectly. It was as if he were seeing himself split into two, each indistinguishable from the other. Does Senior believe Silvermoon's illusion techniques will allow her to trick the two pursuers? Han Li asked Monarch Soul Divergence, his tone mixed with curiosity and caution. In any case, they should most likely not be able to see through her since I can't detect anything either. Monarch Soul Divergence's voice carried a hint of respect. Your artifact spirit is quite unique. Even I cannot completely see through her illusion. At times, the illusion seems weaker, and at other moments, stronger. Were it not for their holy beast, they certainly would not be able to differentiate between the two of you. Han Li nodded, though unease still lingered. Regardless, he turned sharply in the opposite direction of Silvermoon and sped away. Unbeknownst to him, giving Silvermoon a portion of the Gold Devouring Beetles had proven to be an unintentionally effective tactic. From afar, the soaring tribe's immortals watched Han Li split into two distinct targets. The purple-haired woman and the Saintess exchanged a brief look of dismay before halting their flight. The purple-haired woman clicked her tongue and murmured in astonishment. What is this, an incarnation technique? Their auras and spiritual chi are perfectly matched. Both seem entirely identical. This cultivator truly possesses many rare techniques. The Saintess, her brow furrowed in thought, spoke with a hint of frustration. The distance between them is too great. Our spiritual sense cannot distinguish which is genuine. I will have the Holy Beast examine them. She uttered a few words in an ancient language, and the endless sky beast's azure light flickered. The pair of crystalline, transparent bullhorns on its head shone brilliantly, and it gave the Saintess a response through its spiritual sense. "It is truly troublesome," the Saintess admitted. "He may have discovered we were tracking him using the scent of the Gold Devouring Beetles. Both of these doppelgangers possess the beetles, and the holy beast cannot differentiate them." The purple-haired woman raised her brow. "If that is the case, we cannot allow either of them to escape." The Saintess's lips curved into a cold smile. "Let us each pursue one of them. He is attempting to split our forces, and we should properly oblige him." The purple-haired woman hesitated. "He may possess mid-Nascent soul cultivation, but his abilities rival a late-Nascent soul cultivator. He is injured, however, so you should not fear much if you encounter his true self. I will chase the other one. As long as he does not use any secret movement techniques, I can handle him and rejoin you." The Saintess nodded with confidence. "Do not worry, though his crimson movement technique is powerful. It comes at a great cost. He has escaped us until now, but he is near the end of his options. The Holy Cauldron is also with me, providing ample protection." The purple-haired woman smiled and streaked off in a trail of purple light, following one of the Han Li duplicates, while the Saintess pursued the other, her eyes flashing with a cold light. Monarch Soul Divergence's voice carried a rare note of concern. "They have separated, just as you intended. Your plan to divide them was effective. The Holy Beast is still limited, possessing only a fraction of its soul. If you do not kill that beast soon, the duration of the seal release will end, and the two Grand Immortals will return. You will be left in an extremely dangerous situation, and the Endless Sky Saintess is not easy to contend with." Han Li scanned the Saintess trailing behind him and replied sullenly, "I have a plan. I do not wish to kill her, only the Holy Beast. It should not take much time. Then I shall wait and see what happens," Monarch Soul Divergence said calmly. Han Li remained silent, his mind focused. When the moment arrived, he suddenly flew in a circle and slapped his storage pouch. Thousands of gold devouring beetles surged out, forming a golden buzzing cloud that revolved in the air. The cloud swarmed with astonishing density, filling the sky with a shimmering mass of golden light. From his sleeves, several tens of sparkling gold flying swords shot out, guided by a spell seal, transforming into over 100 sword lights that wrapped around his body. Forming two incantation gestures, he shouted, "Join!" The sword lights trembled and surged upward, merging into a single, imposing 20-meter-long sword that radiated immense power. Han Li spat out a ball of purple flames, which transformed into a foot-long firebird, charging into the massive sword. The bird ruptured, covering the sword in a layer of purple flames. Countless arcs of golden lightning flashed within the flames, creating an awe-inspiring display. Han Li's frown deepened. Thinking quickly, he spat a mist of azure chi onto the sword. Immediately, the arcing lightning vanished without a trace. Satisfaction crossed his face as he mentally commanded the golden sword to pierce into the sky, disappearing into the dark clouds above. A faint speck of light appeared on the horizon. It was the Endless Sky Saintess. Han Li's eyes narrowed, summoning a set of azure flying swords. He circled himself with them. A blue shield emerged from his other sleeve, forming a protective barrier in front of him. He flipped his palms, summoning an ancient purple mirror from Devilfall Valley in one hand and the Spirit Subjugation Talisman in the other. With the Soul Lock seal lifted, this final talisman use would temporarily boost his cultivation to an even higher level than before. He silently prepared, waiting for the Saintess's approach. The Holy Beast, though limited in cultivation, moved with extraordinary speed. Within mere breaths, it appeared several hundred meters ahead of Han Li. Han Li's gaze assessed the Saintess, noting her striking presence and powerful cultivation. Compared to the beast, she was far more imposing, her aura filled with both charm and lethality. As he watched, she too noticed the golden cloud of gold devouring beetles and betrayed a flash of delight. She hesitated, seemingly wanting to ask something. But Han Li had no time to entertain her curiosity. With the sword hidden and the beetles ready, he silently directed the gold devouring beetles toward her. The azure flying swords surged in waves, moving to attack. "You're courting death," the Saintess shouted. Enraged, she raised a dark green bracelet, which rapidly expanded to intercept the sword blurs. In her other hand, she tossed a spirit beast pouch, releasing over 10 fully matured Gold Devouring Beetles to counter Han Li's swarm. Han Li's heart sank as he observed the black clouds slowly encroaching upon her. The Jade Band Bracelet, a powerful ancient treasure, absorbed the azure swords, rendering them ineffective. The mature Gold Devouring Beetles devoured his smaller beetles without difficulty. Realizing the gravity of the situation, Han Li slapped the Spirit Subjugation Talisman on his body. Crimson light engulfed him, red scales covering his form and a flood dragon horn appearing on his head. A powerful aura surged outward, shaking the surrounding air. The Saintess yelped in shock, yet she remained unafraid, spitting out a scarf magic treasure that circled her. Growing over 10 meters long, the scarf revealed the portrait of a huge silver silkworm. Light glowed from the silkworm, which animated and shot streams of silver thread toward Han Li. Separated by over 300 meters, the threads closed the distance almost instantly. In alarm, Han Li expanded his blue light shield into a large barrier. Enveloping himself, he spat a ball of purple flame at the shield, and purple glacial chi burst forth, covering an area of 10 meters in front of him. Then, with a crackle, a purple ice wall 30 meters tall was raised in front of him. With a large clap, the silver threads struck the ice wall and created a dense grouping of holes. It nearly appeared as if the ice wall was on the verge of collapsing from the damage. Han Li's eyes narrowed, and without hesitation, he raised his hand and struck the ice wall with a spell seal. Purple light flowed across the surface, releasing astonishing glacial energy. The damage caused by the silver threads was instantly repaired, and another thick layer of purple ice condensed around it, making the barrier far more durable than before. The glacial energy transformed almost immediately into purple flames, surging along the silver threads toward the embroidered scarf magic treasure as if thin, vicious serpents were pouncing upon it. Han Li watched carefully, noting the Saintess's expression change from shock to intense concentration. She was clearly alarmed by the ferocity of his technique, but she did not slow her movements in the slightest. Her hands formed an elegant incantation gesture, and she gracefully pointed toward the floating embroidered scarf. The silver silkworm's mouth opened once more, spitting a puff of white flame that raced along the threads toward the purple flames. The flames collided violently, weaving together as they streaked through the air. For a moment, the white flames managed to resist, but the purple flames overwhelmed them, pushing forward with terrifying momentum. The Saintess's brow furrowed in concern, and she muttered words in an ancient language. Instantly, the soaring sky beast below her unleashed a stream of azure flames, merging with the white flames. The resulting azure-white flames managed to temporarily block the advance of Han Li's purple ice flames. Seizing the opening, the Saintess waved her hand, summoning an octagonal metal pendant into her grasp. She tossed it into the air, and it transformed instantly into a massive Bagua diagram blazing with scarlet flames. The diagram shot toward Han Li like a meteor. Han Li curled his lips, unfazed, and summoned a pair of silver wings from his back with the clap of thunder. Just as the flaming Bagua diagram neared him, he blurred and disappeared in a flash of silver lightning. Reappearing over 100 meters away, he vanished again almost instantly, a technique so swift that even the Saintess's eyes struggled to follow it. Lightning movement, the Saintess muttered, her voice filled with seriousness. As Han Li drew closer to her, she executed an ancient incantation and had the soaring sky beast release a vast sea of white mist. Quickly disappearing within it, Han Li, for his part, was momentarily surprised, unable to locate her amidst the dense mist. Realizing he could not afford to wait, Han Li summoned an ancient purple mirror in front of him, pouring the entirety of his spiritual energy into it. The mirror pulsed with sparkling light, releasing a beam of purple energy directly through the mist. The beam caused the white mist to roil violently before scattering it completely. From the remaining mist, a single azure flame erupted, blocking the purple light. Focusing carefully, Han Li saw the lone silhouette of the Endless Sky Beast but no trace of the Saintess. Relief surged through him, She had abandoned the protection of the beast, presenting an opportunity he could not waste. Without hesitation, Han Li commanded the massive hidden sword in the clouds above. It howled sharply, tearing through the clouds with flashes of lightning, slicing down at the endless sky beast. Purple flames and golden lightning engulfed the blade as it descended at astonishing speed. For a moment, it seemed the beast would be split in two. But to Han Li's shock, the soaring sky beast's body dissolved into swirling white mist. Disappearing from sight, he had misjudged the illusion and impulsively attacked. Alarmed, he quickly withdrew, only to be slowed by a sparkling azure light above him. At the same moment, he heard the Saintess chanting an incantation. Looking up in alarm, Han Li saw her hovering 100 meters above, silver patterns glowing on her forehead. In her hand appeared a small cauldron, which immediately began to expand, surging with radiant light. Within moments, it had grown to 12 meters in size, releasing a continuous stream of sparkling azure sand that formed a cloud aimed directly at Han Li. He flapped his wings frantically, sending silver lightning sparking from his back, but faint roars of thunder from the white mist swept past him. The lightning flickered and disappeared, disabling his lightning movement entirely. Helpless, Han Li could only activate the blue light shield, wrapping himself in a massive blue barrier. As the sand cloud made contact, each grain the size of a boulder slammed into the shield, producing a series of resounding booms. The blue light barrier dimmed under the immense pressure. The cloud split into two, transforming into sand flood dragons, wrapping around him and restricting his movements completely. With no other option, Han Li produced his own small cauldron, the Heavenvoid cauldron, infused with a layer of blue icy flame. He focused its power, casting a protective wave of light around himself. He unleashed streaks of azure sword chi at the sand flood dragons, piercing them slightly, but it was insufficient to break their hold. The flood dragons collapsed into clouds of sand on impact, forming a cocoon that encased him entirely. The Saintess, initially shocked by Han Li's small cauldron, observed with a calm smile as the sand trapped him completely. Even cultivators at the late nascent soul stage would struggle to escape. The blue light barrier shattered under the continuous barrage, and the sand wrapped him further. She floated down to oversee her work, confident in her control, but then, suddenly, countless beams of light shot out from Han Li's cocoon, scattering the sand. At the center of the floating cloud was Han Li, holding his small cauldron, staring up at her. The Saintess froze in disbelief, unable to comprehend what she was witnessing. Han Li coldly slapped the lid of his Heavenvoid cauldron. Ripples of blue light radiated outward, dissolving the surrounding sand as if it had never existed. Panic flashed across the Saintess's face. She attempted to command the sand to resume its attack, but it remained motionless, disconnected from her spiritual sense. Before she could react further, she stamped down on her own massive cauldron. It continued to revolve, emitting a blinding azure light that enveloped Han Li, a display of immense power and precision that left her both stunned and alarmed. Han Li narrowed his eyes and began to circulate the first layer of the Heavenvoid cauldron's artifact imprint technique. The moment he did, a dragon's roar echoed from the cauldron, sharp and commanding, as if the artifact itself had come to life. The lid of the cauldron shot into the air in a streak of dazzling blue light, revealing the rainbow-colored light blazing from within it. Instantly, the sea of azure light that the Saintess had used to freeze his movements began to collapse, pulled irresistibly into the Heavenvoid cauldron. Both Han Li and the Saintess were taken aback by what was happening. The Saintess's massive cauldron, previously under her absolute control, let out an alarming hum and shot downward in a streak of light. The Saintess's expression turned ashen, and she hastily formed a hand incantation, commanding the cauldron to stop. But her words carried no effect. The cauldron disappeared into the Heavenvoid cauldron beneath Han Li, absorbed entirely. A chill of disbelief ran through her mind as she struggled to comprehend the sudden reversal. Han Li, however, was composed, his expression betraying nothing but delight at the unexpected turn of events. The Heavenvoid cauldron, now fully under his control, spun in the air and pointed its mouth toward the edge of the white mist where the battle had been raging. A faint glow emanated from the cauldron, And from within the mist came a terrifying roar. A massive black silhouette surged upward into the sky. It was the flood dragon with a bull's head, the endless sky beast itself. Before the Saintess could react, an enchanting azure mist shot from the Heavenvoid cauldron, moving with astonishing speed to envelop the beast. The endless sky beast roared and struggled violently, thrashing with all its might. But the azure mist held firm. The mist coiled around the beast, constricting and moving in harmony with it before flying back into the cauldron. With a spin, the lid slammed shut, sealing the creature inside in a blink of an eye. The Saintess's eyes widened in disbelief. She had been winning the battle moments ago. And yet, in the span of a heartbeat, Han Li had not only escaped from her carefully constructed cocoon of sand but had captured both the Holy Cauldron and the incarnation of the Holy Beast. Alarm, fury, and disbelief flashed across her face, but she quickly regained her composure. Her gaze hardened, settling on the Heavenvoid cauldron in Han Li's hands. She knew immediately that the reversal of fortune was entirely due to that cauldron. The connection between her Holy Cauldron and Han Li's was the key, and she resolved herself to reclaim it. Han Li, relishing the situation, smiled subtly as he noticed her thoughts flicker toward the cauldron. He flapped his wings and vanished in a streak of silver lightning, reappearing 100 meters away with effortless grace. Without hesitation, he recalled his condensed flying swords and began performing a series of intricate hand gestures. Azure light danced around his body as spiritual energy surged forth. He then spat several mouthfuls of blood essence into the air. The essence transformed into threads of crimson-red mist, twisting into strange patterns and enveloping his figure. His complexion shifted from a dark red to a deep blood crimson, making him appear indistinct, blurred within the swirling mist of blood. Not good, the Saintess cried out, panic flashing across her face. She raised her hands, releasing two beams of silver light, which fragmented into countless threads mid-air, attempting to ensnare Han Li and counter his evasive maneuvers. But Han Li had already vanished from view, blending entirely with the crimson mist. By the time the Saintess's massive sword returned, he had disappeared from sight, leaving only faint crimson light flickering across the horizon. Desperation crept into her mind as she released her spiritual sense, only to find that Han Li had already escaped beyond its limits using his bloodshadow evasion technique. Her face drained of color as she hovered, motionless in disbelief. Far away, over 500 kilometers from the battlefield, an elegant man observed the endless borderless plains below. 9 dark green humming wheels floated around him, spinning gently as he assessed the scene. He muttered to himself, noting the surprisingly resilient wood movement techniques he observed, even after his initial attacks had severely injured the target. Despite the apparent strength of the devilish artifact, he judged it unlikely to survive for long. Nevertheless, something about the situation unsettled him, and he redirected his attention elsewhere, the 9 wheels converging into a single dark green streak of light as he moved. Under an unremarkable bush, a black flag shimmered in the earth. From within a half-foot wide fissure emerged a small, unconscious black-green nascent soul, quietly absorbing the surrounding pure devilish chi to mend its injuries. The figure lay still, unaware of the wider chaos unfolding across the plains. In another location, a beautiful purple-haired woman had trapped thousands of gold devouring beetles using an ancient jade treasure. She deftly blocked a bolt of lightning and then pierced a foreign cultivator with a single attack. To her shock, the body of the foreign cultivator glowed silver, revealing a charming woman before dispersing into countless specks of starlight. The purple-haired woman froze in place, stunned by the sudden disappearance. 4 hours later, the elegant man, the purple-haired woman, and the Endless Sky Saintess regrouped. Each gave an account of the events, their expressions ranging from dismay to deep concern. The elegant man frowned. "You mean to say that not only did we fail to acquire the method to nurture the Gold Devouring Beetles, but we also lost the Holy Cauldron and the Holy Beast?" The purple-haired woman's face soured. "The Holy Cauldron itself is not of paramount importance. We have alternative methods to summon the Holy Beast, but having its incarnation captured may provoke its wrath across the realms. We must reclaim it." The Saintess, with her usual calm, admitted, "We were far too careless. I did not anticipate that this person could restrain the Holy Cauldron in such a manner. I will need to go to the Great Jin to reclaim the Holy Beast's incarnation. That small cauldron used to control our Holy Cauldron is not to be underestimated. I suspect it is a divine spirit treasure, modeled after our Holy Cauldron. There is no other explanation. The purple-haired woman responded with doubt. Divine spirit treasure? That seems unlikely. Such treasures are rarely present in our mortal world. Only unique geniuses of the past obtained the refinement techniques after communicating with the Holy Beast. How could a divine spirit treasure remain now? The elegant man shook his head. It is possible. Elder devils have appeared in our mortal world before. Perhaps a few divine spirit treasures also exist here. At the mention of elder devils, both women's expressions hardened. The purple-haired woman muttered, "It is said the elder devil is fearsome. But it is fortunate we did not confront it. Its movement techniques are extraordinary, capable of traversing our planes and entering the Great Jin with ease." The elegant man explained, "It was gravely wounded. If it had encountered us, our pursuit would have kept it from healing, preventing chaos across the plains. But now, with its injuries, it is limited." The Saintess's face remained grave. Regardless of whether this cauldron is a divine spirit treasure, he has seized the Holy Beast and killed many of our immortals. I must personally go to the Great Jin to retrieve the cauldron and the Holy Beast's incarnation. Otherwise, we cannot answer for their loss when summoned. After exchanging a glance, the two companions nodded. Since you feel strongly, you should go to the Great Jin. But remain discreet. Many cultivator sects there are prejudiced against our soaring tribe immortals. Identify any threats before taking action. I understand, the Saintess replied, determination flashing in her eyes. I will not act rashly, given the abilities of the one we face. Thus, the three dispersed, each attending to their respective duties. The Saintess prepared for her journey to the Great Jin to pursue Han Li. Aware of the challenges ahead, the Great Jin's Liao province stretched across vast, snowy regions, divided into 10 prefectures. Merchants and travelers relied on the Mystic River, the province's second-largest river, which never froze during the flood season. Empire vessels patrolled regularly, and skilled guards were often hired to protect valuable shipments. Wang Tiecheng, a veteran guard of over 20 years, stood calmly at the bow of one such vessel. His hand rested lightly on the railing as he scanned the waters. Recalling the generous payment he had received for this assignment, thoughts of his 7-year-old son brought a small smile to his lips. Suddenly, his calm was shattered by a woman's voice, crying out urgently, "Quick come, there's a huge block of ice there. It seems to have someone inside." In this episode, we saw Han Li demonstrate his incredible ingenuity and power as he faced formidable opponents. From cleverly using Silvermoon's illusions to split and confuse his pursuers, to unleashing thousands of Gold Devouring Beetles and his powerful flying swords, he turned the tide of battle in his favor. Han Li then skillfully confronted the Endless Sky Saintess and her Holy Beast, using the first layer of the Heavenvoid Cauldron's artifact Imprint technique to not only escape her traps but also capture both her cauldron and the incarnation of her Holy Beast. Meanwhile, the reactions of the Saintess, the purple-haired woman, and the elegant man revealed the true extent of Han Li's unexpected power and the challenges they now face. His tactics, combined with his cunning and mastery of divine treasures, showed that he is far more than just a mid-Nascent soul cultivator. The episode ended with the Saintess preparing to pursue him to the Great Jin, setting the stage for the next intense encounter. What happens next? Stay tuned for the next episode of Immortal's Journey to Immortality. If you enjoyed this episode or found it exciting, don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel to get the latest updates on Han Li's journey. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.